It's time for MacBreak Weekly. Well, Andy Anako's here, so is Rene Ritchie, and Alex Lindsey stops by to watch me do a very foolish thing. I install High Sierra on the air live, but it works. It works. We'll talk about new iPhone rumors and a whole lot more. It's all coming up next on MacBreak Weekly.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for MacBreak Weekly is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is MacBreak Weekly, episode 566, recorded Tuesday, July 11th, 2017. Ride my pipes for free. MacBreak Weekly is brought to you by Dollar Shave Club. For a great shave at a great price, join Dollar Shave Club. New members get their first month of the Executive Razor and a tube of Dr. Carver's Shave Butter for only $5 with free shipping. Get yours at dollarshaveclub.com/MacBreak. And by ZipRecruiter. Are you hiring? With ZipRecruiter.com, you could post to 100-plus job boards, including social networks, all with a single click. Screen, rate, and hire the right candidates fast. Try ZipRecruiter free at ZipRecruiter.com/twit. And by Drobo, a family of safe, expandable, yet easy-to-use storage arrays. Drobos are designed to protect your important data forever. Visit drobostore.com to learn more. And use the code TWIT10 to save 10% off select Drobos, including the new Drobo 5D3. It's time for MacBreak Weekly, the show where we cover the latest news from Apple. And hail, hail, the gang's all here from Montreal, Canada, and imore.com. Rene Ritchie, bearded, looking good. I like you in a beard.
I'm accidentally bearded, Leo. I just didn't have an opportunity to shave it.
That's how hairy he is. One day, and that's what he looks like, kids.
It's Canadian. It's defense against the elements.
It must be.
It's boom, Grizzly Adams.
Boom.
Sasquatch.
Sasquatch.
Boom, Sasquatch, yeah.
Do you ever, you know how hickory bark can taste kind of like grape nuts? No, wait a minute. That's not right. Also, Andy Anako is here from the Chicago Sun-Times. Great to see you. And the Northeast.
Yes, we're defending the northern border.
And
apparently it's now a thing.
Yes,
against us.
Against the White Walkers.
No, just to keep people from leaving.
Oh, okay.
Please, hang in there.
Please don't give up. And also here, on a day after his birthday, Alex Lindsey joining us.
Hello, hello.
Hi, Alex. Good to see you.
Hey.
Happy birthday.
Hey, belated happy birthday to you.
Yes, thank you.
Did you celebrate? Did you do anything fun?
I have to admit, I worked most of the day. I flew back from New York yesterday morning, and I worked right up until I drove home. But I did get to have a nice dinner and cake with my kids and my wife, so it was good.
I was so pleased when I came in this morning. I had a box from the UK, and it says Tailors of Harrogate, and I thought, wait a minute, it's
the new Cones of Dunshire.
Harrogate is in Yorkshire. You're close. It's the maker of my favorite tea, Yorkshire Gold. And apparently they're fans. And I just got a look at this. This is the funniest thing I ever saw. You're going to love this. This Week in Tea.
There you go.
They sent me a giant box of Yorkshire Gold, which is my favorite tea. I mean, it really is a great tea. In Britain, it's divided between PG Tips and Yorkshire Gold fans. You must be a tea drinker because you're in Canada, right, Rene?
I do. I am a coffee drinker, but I also enjoy my teas. We have David's tea here that makes a ton of really good stuff. Yeah.
I love Tailors of Harrogate, so I'm thrilled that they sent me this, and this is the funniest thing I ever saw, This Week in Tea. So
it's amazing.
Thank you, Tom. And then a little. I don't know what this is. Yorkshire.
What's your tea weapon of choice, Leo? What kind of tea?
My tea weapon of choice.
What tea do you like? What's your
Yorkshire Gold, which is a black. I don't like Earl Grey at all.
Okay.
Now this is some other stuff. This is the breakfast brew, which I will be trying. But this is, in my opinion, Yorkshire Gold is the best English tea.
I have not tried it. I got to give it a try.
Oh, you gotta have that. So anyway, Tom.
I'm a big PG Tips myself.
Earl Grey gave us the Grey cup, so he's at least redempted a bit.
I hate Earl Grey. Too much
PG Tips does have that association with Wallace and Gromit. You can get a Wallace and Gromit tea cozy. So
this has become the new This Week in Tea show. And look, they sent me, what is this? A tea towel. Literally.
The hard part is really finding good cozies. I mean, the cozies for the pots are the hard part, I think.
Yeah. I do it a cup at a time, and I use a tea ball. But I have a number of lovely pots. There's a tea company in the United States that does some really interesting teas. But I'm a simple guy. I just like my tea
on
bag.
my new tea poll list.
I had a transformative experience several months ago where I got a good deal on one of those really good like work job site like thermos vacuum bottles that holds boiling water like hot for like 3 days. And so now like every night I check to make sure that my thermos bottle is filled with this liter of piping hot water. I wake up and with my first conscious thought is to pour myself a cup of tea.
I love tea.
Now because I have this steaming hot cup of water like in my hands, that is my incentive not to fall back asleep again, because otherwise I will kill myself.
So I get besides the Yorkshire Gold, if I want fancy stuff, I go to Adagio, and they have some. Yeah, I like Adagio. They sent me, because I mentioned them once before, so I should mention that they gave me this. They call it the concert teapot, which is it's beautiful. It's highly impractical, although you see it has a little candle, but it's a solid glass teapot, and it really is gorgeous. I should have bought the extended warranty though, because I immediately broke it. But it's more
practical than that. It's more practical than those fire-based vacuum infusers at Blue Bottle. So you're not.
Yeah, those are kind of kooky, aren't they?
Yes,
yeah.
They look hella impressive, but they're finicky.
Yeah, I think see. There's all sorts of ways to brew, and I really haven't ventured into the varieties of brewing.
I use the one where you put the tea and the leaves in the top, and then you put it on the cup, and it drains into the cup from above.
Yeah,
I
like
found those
this.
very useful.
Yeah. It's a travel infuser. Anyway, I don't know how we got into tea, because this is not a show about tea, but I just wanted to thank my friends at Taylor of Harrogate for sending me This Week in Tea, which is kind of
we just made all of our tea equipment.
It will get a lot of people listening to it.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Andy. I'm sorry.
No. I was just going to say that if we just say like what our favorite tea kettle is, what our favorite infuser is, we can make that tax deductible.
Tea is lagging behind coffee in terms of I have in my house 12 different ways to make coffee. We got to work on this with you, tea.
Tea
guys.
only needs one, Leo.
It only needs one.
I think I only have 4 ways to make coffee in my house.
Remember that thing? It looked like I was making crystal
meth. I got one of
meth,
those.
The giant cold brew drip system.
Yep. I like a good Te Kunyam also, and some silver leaf tea. Those are good too.
Yeah. Pu'er is my
tea pu'er, yeah.
Yeah.
Pu'er, very good.
Oh, wow. But again, I don't know what there's
the Japanese one with the toasted rice in it.
Yes, that's my favorite. Love that. What is that called?
No, I'll have to double check the name. It's on the tip of my tongue. I'll double check.
They have that over across the street, and is it Genmaicha?
Yes.
I love that.
Genmaicha.
It's a green tea, but it has toasted rice in it, which gives us this nice toasty.
Yeah.
There is a certain pull to the This Week in Tea concept, I believe. Yes. Here's the
Get some VCs in the room and make it happen.
Yeah, really. Popcorn tea or roasted rice tea.
Do you dunk the biscuit or keep it dry?
I'm a dunker.
A crumpet? Yeah.
I'm a dunker.
Depends on the biscuit. Yeah. You have enough so you can do both.
Crumpets are the best.
I like a good digestive on the side.
By the way, why are crumpets not as big as scones and English muffins?
Because they're harder to make.
Yeah, they're hard, but they are the best.
Harder to make.
A crumpet is so far better than anything else out there.
It's like Yorkshire pudding versus stuffing. It just takes more effort, so people don't do it.
Pudding.
Yeah.
Crumpets are made on
Food Break Weekly.
I don't know what we're doing here. Crumpets are made on griddle. So you might say, "Oh, English muffin." No, but that's probably what was inspiring the English muffin.
Yeah.
It has a
there
wonderful.
There used to be a tea and crumpets in San Rafael that you could actually go get them. There was like a little open window where you could see them making them.
I remember that.
So good.
I kind of had to stay away from them because I would have otherwise died of crumpet overdose.
Crumpet scurvy. When you're not getting enough vitamins because you're eating nothing but crumpets.
too much crumpets. So we're all saying all this because really all we have is rumors today because Apple's been busy making the new iPhone. I have been playing with iOS 11. The new High Sierra public beta came out, I think this week, if you wanted to try it. Rene, you're a big beta guy. I know you said don't use iOS 11, but I've been using it on my iPad Pro 10.5.
Well, don't put it on your main phone. Like if it's a phone that you depend on for your life or your business, don't put it on that.
Yeah, of course not.
Your iPad is okay.
But on my iOS, on my 10.5 iPad, it just sings. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And we just did a whole bunch of tips on iOS 11 on iOS Today. And I learned some things because for instance, I had split screen my Safari and I couldn't unsplit screen it. It is not intuitive. I had two panes, which is nice because Safari didn't used to be able to do that, but recently they added that ability. But then there was no way to close the pane in iOS 11. It turns out if you close all the tabs in one of the panes, then it will go away.
I just caution people because even like, let's say beta 3 is miraculously good, maybe beta 4 will have a big problem.
There's always
on
that
that
risk.
train. Yeah. So
let me ask you, because I'm very interested in getting APFS on my Macs. Should I go to High Sierra public beta?
So I put it on my, because I never listen to what I do, Leo. I put it on my main machine the day of WWDC. I did that with all the betas, and since then I've put it on 2 other Macs. I put it on my MacBook Pro, and I've put it on a MacBook and an iMac. And the APFS was the easiest part of any of those. Just a little checkbox. You check it while you're doing the update. It changes your file system, and mine have been perfect. I reclaimed space. They're singing along. I don't recommend that people go and reformat their backup drives or their external drives because it works great with HPFS as well.
You don't need to.
With HFS as well, yeah. You absolutely don't need to. But for the main system, I've done it and I have 0 regrets.
No noticeable showstoppers?
Nothing. On terms of APFS, no, I think they've really done their due diligence on it. That's not to say, any one of us might be the first outlier, or at least one of the first outliers. So do proceed with caution. Do have your backups done. Do have an ability to revert if you need to. But it's myself and everyone at iMore and everyone that I know who have done it have not even noticed that it was done, which I think is the biggest compliment you can ever give a file system.
But you can't get that new file system without getting High Sierra 2, right?
It was available as a beta for the previous OS, but at this point, I wouldn't recommend anybody go back and run an old beta version of Sierra.
No, absolutely not. So in other words, you're saying High Sierra's okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's the things that High Sierra are changing are really foundational things, and they've done really good work on that. So, it looks the same, so you won't have any worries about not knowing how it works. It's just a bunch of technological improvements.
It's like Snow Leopard. It's an incremental upgrade to Sierra.
It's one of those things that Apple does that and I think we've talked about this before, but at Apple, there are some features that are pushed down from the marketing team, but there's a lot of features that are just like ProMotion. That was an engineer who came up with that idea, and they went with it. And this was Craig Federighi. I think he said this on the talk show. He told the teams, if you had the time, what would you fix? What would you do to make your apps or your frameworks better? And they gave them, I think, 50% time to do that. And this is the result.
There are apps that have problems. Like if they're apps you need, they may not work with it, right?
But more and more developers are announcing at least preliminary support.
So I've backed up my Mac. Don't tell them I didn't. But I backed up my Mac. The next thing is to download the Mac OS public. First, you have to log in.
Yes.
And then download the Mac OS public beta access utility.
Yeah, it's a little DMG file that you run, and it puts you on the beta track rather than the release track for the updates.
Okay. So let me run this.
Are we doing this live? Exciting.
I probably shouldn't do it.
You should do it on the Skype computer that's running this entire conversation.
Do you have a backup Surface nearby?
Yeah, if I have to, I can go to Windows. Okay, and then it wants me to log in.
It does take a little while. It'll take about 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, what a surprise. I mean, you're actually changing the file system. And then once you run that little stub, which I've done, now you get pulled to the store where you can see Mac OS High Sierra, your Mac elevated, and the button now says download.
Yeah, they've made it much easier for because it became a public beta. It's no longer all the hoops you had to jump through for developer beta. Yeah. They've really streamlined the process.
Okay, cool. So, is there somewhere a list of the apps that don't work?
I haven't seen one, but I haven't looked for one because I've literally not run into a problem. I'm running Photoshop and Tweetbot and almost everything I've ever run.
So the Adobe stuff runs. That would be for me a showstopper. I guess everybody knows what they need.
Every once in a while, I get the app shuts down, and do I want to send it to developers? But then I pop it back up, and it works again.
Oh, okay. They fixed it already. Yeah.
Or at least I don't think there's such differences that it made a huge impact on developers.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the problems of running beta software, though, because whenever I'm running a beta OS and something weird happens or something crashes or something won't start up, I will stop diagnosing it because I'll think, oh well, this stupid beta, oh well, without knowing that no, maybe my network is down, or no, maybe this one app is crashing, or it kind of lowers your guard for a little bit.
And then once you install this, you will automatically get updates now, right? I don't have to.
Yes.
If I go to the App Store, it will show up as an update.
Yes. Oh, and I should say that if you're using a lot of apps, like maybe like the Rogue Amoeba apps that do a lot of low-level things on stuff like on Foundation or Core Audio, those might be more problematic than if you're running vanilla software that just uses Apple's frameworks.
All right.
I don't know that for sure, but I know that they're updating a lot of stuff. So.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to do it now. Although I'm mightily tempted.
I'll do it in 5 seconds when I can't help myself.
I'm mightily tempted. All right. Well, good. So it doesn't sound like there's a lot of reasons to avoid it. Obviously, if you're Alex Lindsey and you've got massive business issues that if these Macs aren't reliable, and you use a lot of weird software, right?
Well, and I'll probably update. I have a computer at home that I'm probably going to update just to go ahead and play with it. I did that with I got the new iPad Pro and immediately just decided I'm just going to throw on the beta to start with rather than worrying about anything historical. I have another iPad that I can jump back to. But
I'm kind of glad I put it on my Pro because it really is made for that, you know.
One of the coolest things is that and this won't impact almost any user, but one of the coolest things is they did a lot of work to optimize their VR pipeline, for example. So they'll get everything out of the way, all the CPU stuff out of the way, and let the computer hit the GPU as much and as fast as possible. And they've got this wicked cool diagnostic stuff too, so you can do like eye by eye comparisons to see what's going on with your code if you're developing stuff for VR. And there's a lot of really clever stuff in their developer tools now as well.
Apple
it's really geekily impressive.
May become the first $1 trillion company this next 12 months. This is according to a Wall Street analyst, Brian White, who unbelievably says Apple's stock is undervalued. He says, buy more. To set up the installation. No, don't.
Do you want to, Leo? Can you?
Do it.
No, because then I won't. If I do it, then I won't have access to my machine for, what, 15 minutes?
All the cool hosts are doing it.
Yeah, all the cool hosts do it.
You know. Your Sierra's not high, Leo? It's not fully baked?
Alex